Welcome to the Wow Brand Podcast, where we spotlight inspiring business owners and creatives and the stories behind what they build. Today, we're joined by Brian, founder of Bigger Creative. Brian is a creative entrepreneur whose work has been featured at the major platforms, including New York Fashion Week, USA Today, South by Southwest, and Consumer Electronics Show. His creative work has also been published in books like 100 Ideas That Changed Advertising and Pivotal Moment Design. He's been featured across multiple podcast publications like Canvas Rebel and also hosts his own show, the Something Bigger podcast. Brian's journey sits at the intersection of creativity, consciousness, and storytelling. And today, we get to hear how it all started.
I wanted this freedom, I wanted this power.
Is it better to work for someone for 9 to 5?
Welcome, Brian. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so I want to ask this question since earlier. Even with behind the camera, I've been asking this already. But since other people didn't know who you are first, can you please explain to us what is Bigger Creative?
Bigger Creative is a branding and design studio based in Brooklyn. And over the past 5 years, we've pivoted to sustainable design. So that's doing things that are less taxing on the planet, probably sustainable for your pocket as well to make sure your business is maintained. And just thinking about how we are moving and operating from a production side to an output side.
So how do you market yourself to the people out there?
That's a lot of in-person networking. So who you know kind of thing, but also I have a lot of experience in agency world, so a lot of people come to me naturally through that. They're like, hey, you're still doing this kind of work. So it really depends. I've got a bunch of different avenues in which I work with people, but specifically in New York, small businesses, it's going to small business meetings, it's getting out and meeting people, teaching them what I do, and showing a lot of people need graphic design help, some aspect in their business.
When was the time you created this and you believe that this is the business you want to be in?
Okay, so I've been doing design for over 20 years. It's always been as a creative person, something that I've strived for. I was able to be fortunate to work in agency world and started working with big brands. And then being a native from New York, I knew that there were tons of small businesses that could use the same knowledge to create differentiation amongst all of their competitors. So I said, well, due to some unfortunate layoffs, I just pivoted right into starting my own business about 11 years ago. And that's where I started, was basically helping small businesses brand, logo design, website design. Through COVID, found out sustainable design was a thing, and then have kind of been working that in over the last 5 or 6 years. So it hasn't been the same path or trajectory all 11 years, but it's a passion I've had for a long time, and it was a no-brainer. I like to say when you do something that you love, it's barely work. You know what I mean?
I always believe in that.
No reason to try to kill ourselves earlier.
So when it comes with sustainable designs, right? How can you differentiate, or how can you know what's best for a smaller brand and then a bigger brand?
Well, a lot of times when we're talking about sustainable design, it also goes into product and service. So it's on a brand strategy, so a business strategy level. So it's talking about, well, what are your inputs? How are you creating what it is that you're selling? And it's looking at those things like material cost and all of these different things, and letting people know if there were issues in the planet someplace else where you're getting sourcing, you understand your sourcing costs are going to go up. Can your business sustain that? And then it's the output. Well, then once we get it created, once we've made it, how are we marketing it to people? What are we telling people the benefit is? A lot of times it's asking, do we need to make this in the first place? Because we're very quick to come up with something to make money, but does the world really need that? And if it doesn't, well, how can we refine your business to create an output that is more beneficial on all sides? So for a small business, it's really about educating myself on their industry, but then also helping themselves educate themselves about everything that their one small business touches. They don't realize all the touch points that they have. So it starts there, I think.
So like, when do you know if the person needed you for like, is it this like a month-to-month basis? Is it like a year contract? Like, how can they be working with you?
Typically, what I start out with is a business analysis, and I look at where they are. Some people know about these things, they know about brand design and brand identity, so they have a foundational ethos, if you want to call it that, established. For someone like that, we might not be investigating on how to brand them properly, as long as they're showing up the right way in their touch points. So how are you on social media? Does that look the same as your website? Are you speaking the same language and using the same verbiage inside of your anything, your media kits, your social media posts? And if you're not, well, then maybe we need to reevaluate how you've established your brand. If you have that set, well, then maybe the output is just graphic stuff. So now it's like, okay, you're gonna have an event. So what do you need for that event? And like, what can we use in terms of not going print and going digital? So it really depends on a business's trajectory of where they're at in their business journey. Most people are like, I have an idea for a business. So they're literally going to be looking for logo, website, like the very foundational things.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to like tell them, hey, let's not run before we walk. Let's set this up with the brand intention. Because you're right, if you want to show up the right way and make the right impact, you have to have a story, and you have to have something that when someone sees it, they're like, this is that. Like, you've got these orange walls. These orange walls are for a reason. So when you get enough of the orange walls or the orange showing up, you want people to be like, well, this is that company.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola red. They own that Pantone color for that exact purpose, because that red just is like, okay, that's the red. It's on a brown liquid. That must be Coke. And they do that for a reason. So when they understand that, a lot of times they're like, okay, what is, and then it's asking questions about them and their business that a lot of times I don't think a lot of people think about in terms of like applying that to their small business, especially. So yeah, it really depends. I really like to just look at where they're at currently.
I see.
And then fit them in to whatever step we feel we need to be working from going forward, because I'm not here to waste anyone's money or anyone's time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to redo something that's already done, but I also don't want to skip a step that's like building the second floor of a house and not having the first floor done yet. That's impossible.
Yeah.
So, that's
I see. You cannot like build
answer.
the first floor without the foundation, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but speaking of orange, if you guys see, everywhere is orange because we are actually Wow Brown, located in Midtown. That's a side note. But anyway, like what you said, you actually work on the current status of what the business has, right? For example, you have an idea what could make them a better business, right? But there are a lot of business owners be like, hey, but I want it like this because we already started like that. Will you actually just work around with that, or like create your own thing?
Well, to correct you, I'm not trying to correct you. I don't ever have an idea about stuff.
I see.
I don't ever let my ideas dictate the output.
Got it.
Nor do I let the business person's ideas dictate the output. The first thing we have to look at is who's your audience.
Okay.
When we realize who their audience is, we then have to tailor your message to reach them. So you can think you want to be high end, but your audience doesn't read high end. If you're going to put out high end, guess what? You're not going to retain that clientele. So it really starts with the end user, what they want, and then working backwards to say, okay, well, this is where we fit into these slots, and this is how we're going to implement this thing to reach them. So as long as you do that and you have data, which a lot of times in the business analysis you're doing, it's really easy to remind the business owner, like, hey, remember we're speaking to those Gen Zers that like the color, whatever, the adventure people who are outside, so we can't be showing someone sitting in their apartment. We want to show ruggedness, depending on what brand archetype you're sitting in, and not you, but your customers. So that is the best way that I approach it. I don't ever try to take my own, I use that after the fact. Once I have all the data, then I'm like, okay, well, this I think is the best way to do that, using these colors, using this font. But I don't ever say before, like, oh, I think this would be great for you. And I need to know who it is you're trying to reach, because then it's ineffective. It's just art at that point. It's not design, which is for marketing and communication. So yeah, and then as long as you do that as well from the creative side, I feel like you get less pushback from the business owner.
Nice.
You do get business owners that are like, this is my baby and this has to be this certain kind of way.
Yeah.
You have to remind them like, that's great, but we're not selling to you. You need to sell 100 of these a month. And are you gonna buy 100 of them? Like, no, the people you're speaking to, they wanna see this. Look at all of the other competitors. They're all doing the same thing. So we have to fit in there somewhere, but a way, you know, stick up enough that they're noticing you. But if you look too much opposite of the people that you're competing against, automatically people are like, they don't even belong in this group. So you're actually shooting yourself in the foot by doing it that way. So I really like to look at who are we speaking to? And as long as you have that focal point, that's usually the right way to go. It's gonna lead you in the right direction.
Since you're actually like focusing on the audience of the business owners, like, would you mind sharing where you actually find the audiences around? Because like, I mean, there's like a lot of apps now that we could use for that. But like, if you have a business owner located in like a different area, like, how can you tell what is the community going, and how can you tell what is the audience happening for that business?
There's lots of different ways. There's what's called quantitative and qualitative research data, and it really depends on the money. Like how much money you have as a business owner to invest in. I could give you a ton of qualitative data. I could give you a ton of quantitative data, because you're right, there's tons of apps out there. So everything as high as Nielsen reports that you can get, like demo breakdowns of certain, down to the zip code of what people are eating, drinking, like activities. Or if you're like low hanging fruit and you don't have a lot of money, it could be even as easy as a poll on social media. You know, getting into a Facebook group or a LinkedIn professional group, or depending what service you're selling, getting into a community within whatever said social media site, and then just asking a question, asking some polls, and doing 2 weeks to a month of that. And then a lot of times you get a good segment size of like, okay, well, we put this out here and this is what everybody said. A/B testing helps a lot. So if you have, you know, 2 different designs, 2 different messages, you could put that out there, see which one performs better. That's kind of the community dictating or telling you like, hey, this is what's, you know, resonating with me. So yeah, it really depends on like how much time they have, how much income they have, to see what kind of data points. But the very lowest hanging fruit would be just utilize the community you have online right now. A lot of times you're probably talking to some of those people. Even lower hanging fruit is just calling up old customers and just asking them a couple questions like you're doing with me. It's a simple little interview. There's no cameras, there's nothing around, and just asking them a couple questions. Even if you get some, like a different employee, because maybe you feel they're not gonna give you honest answers. That actually speaks volumes, because you could say, well, what made you choose us? You know, and ask them really pointed questions that can give you a lot of data. Like, oh, well, everybody picks me because I have the best price and the owner is really personable. Well, maybe you need to get him in front of the camera so he can start marketing more as well. Like, you find opportunities in that as well. So I think that's like, you know, there's a lot of different ways you can pull data. And with social media and power of smartphones, like, there should be no barrier that you should be like, oh, I don't know. I mean, even ChatGPT. You could go into something like that and ask it some pointed questions. I would say, you know, double it with maybe another thing, another resource, because they hallucinate sometimes. But just comparing those things together and finding the overlap, you can pretty much find out what your answer is.
Compares to today's generation, to like before you started your business, do you think that from today to before, like, did it get easier to you, or did it get harder for you when it comes to the job you're doing right now?
I think it's getting harder. You know, as we democratize some of the things that I do, we were talking about this, you know, people are very tech savvy now. So like, oh, I don't need you to do anything. I got my niece, she can, you know, whip up a flyer. Like, okay, but there's so many other things that go into design to make it effective. But I think for people in an economy like that we're in right now, those options become viable, because, you know, everybody wants to save money. You know, you want to work with people that you know. Sometimes business owners like to run the whole everything, so they feel like if I have a family member or someone who's a close friend, they're gonna listen to what I want, which is definitely not the way to do it. But if that's what they want to do, that's what they can do. And then with AI, like now you could just be like, hey, I have this brand and I need you to come up with this and this and this.
Yep.
And it can do it. But the problem is the human touch, and it's always looking at things that are already sourced to it. So it's going to give you a variation, but it's going to give you a variation of the inputs that have been awarded to it, where a creative like myself or another designer has a completely different view on things. They bring in a life experience that the AI doesn't. So it's really about, just like any business owner, finding like what is special about what it is that I do and that I can do that other people can't and that other machines can't, because now I'm competing with computers too.
Yeah.
So it's like, so yeah, it has become more difficult because now like anyone can be a designer if they want to. Throw in some Canva, some ChatGPT, which goes right to Canva. I mean, they have the plugin and be like, create a flyer for whatever and this, and everything pops out. So I really feel like you need to show people what your value is, and that's no matter what it is, across the board. Because if you can't show people the value, then they are going to use the other options that are going to be cheaper.
I see.
But once you do show them the value and they realize, sometimes I've got people who will talk to me and be like, okay, that's a little much, and then they go someplace else and then they're like, okay, well, I didn't get the results I wanted. It's like, okay, you'll be back.
Yeah.
You came right back. And so, it's really just leaning forward in what it is that you offer. And people are either going to read or they're not going to read. There's
I see.
people who buy Coach, and then there's people who buy the $9 bag on the side of the street. So there's an audience for everybody.
Yes.
It just depends on where you're slotting in.
So like when it comes to like what you do you ever hire people, or you team up with like another kind of creative as well?
Right now, I have just started doing contract work with people, like other people. I have a contract worker in the Philippines right now, so that's really cool. And honestly, it's been something as a business owner, as a designer, we feel like we could do a lot of things on our own. We've got our business, we could be creative. It's a lot of business stuff that I don't like doing, that I have to do. And she's come in and been able to do a whole bunch of operations things that I have never set up. So there's that. And then it's also just working off someone else, like riffing, that it's like, okay, I've got an idea. She's a creative as well. And she just sees, again, creatives bring a different mindset to things. So as I say things to her and I've thought about them in my own head and I'm creative, she has a completely different look on something and like taps in on something I didn't even see. So like two creatives together then bring out the best of something, because she's now bringing attention to something that I didn't even think was something I should be focusing on. And then when she explains it, you're like, you're so right. Why didn't I think about this? So yeah, I think the quicker we open our businesses up as small business owners, as long as we can do that, it does nothing but build your business to grow. Because think about it, if you're really vibing with the person, now it's two heads as opposed to one. And again, they can bring a different focus that maybe you're not either willing to focus on or just haven't seen it like that. And being as she's on the other side of the world, we talk like, I'm sure 12 hours apart from one another. So like I'm talking to her at night, she's talking to me in the morning. So like our brains are in different states as well. So it's been really interesting. And as I grow, I just want to continue bringing in more designers. I do things sustainably, so a lot of designers are not aware of that modality of applying that to design and teaching them how to do that. I mean, design is predominantly Caucasian. It's like 70% white, male driven. Females, I think, are starting to edge them out a little bit. But how are we as communicators and marketers supposed to reach all communities if we're only reflecting one community? So for me, it's about getting, the kids in Africa or some, Latin American designers, because they're speaking to a completely different market, and they also are bringing that thinking into my business to say, well, hey, maybe you've only been focusing on this small segment because that's what you know. Yeah. But there's a whole other way of doing things as well. So I think the more diverse we make our businesses, the more diverse we try to make our communicators, the larger our message can spread. So yeah, I've been really, really looking forward to like expanding consciously so that I'm getting the right people to kind of hone the message differently.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm really happy you're actually collaborating, even all the way from my country, the Philippines. My kind of like curious question too, though, like, when do you think, like, there's a lot of people who's just starting their business now and already started their business. When do you think you can be in it? Do you think you can be it with the person who didn't even build their business and be part of them, or you need to be, the business need to be created already before you become part of them?
I've done both. And speaking of from agency, you're working with brands that have brand guidelines. You've got their brand identity set. You can design within a certain like zoo, like it's like a cage. Like, okay, you want to go there? Sorry, the wall is there. You're not going over there. So that's one way of working. But then I've had businesses that are like, okay, I've got this concept, and I've helped them come up with their name. I've helped them establish everything, establish how they were going to deliver their services. So it really depends. And that's a way larger runway. Like the brand who's already set up needs this thing, we're looking at like a 2 week to 3 week turnaround. The business that's like, hey, I've got this dream and I've never been able to get it off the ground, that's like a 3 to 4 month project. It could be even longer depending on what industry they're trying to make inroads in. Actually, I find those to be way more fun, way more rewarding, just because you find someone who's also, whether they're creative or not, in terms of whatever we call that, they are thinking, they're ideating, they're a business owner, they're an entrepreneur, so they have their own process of what it is that they see their vision being. And then you're the person who's supposed to take that like carbon and carve out that diamond for them. And really sometimes saying, hey, did you ever think about this? And pushing that diamond in a different direction, or like really bringing them back down to reality and say, okay, we have to like pinpoint at this spot. There's a lot of finesse with that, but you really learn how to like talk with people, how to deliver sometimes bad messages, sometimes deliver, really you see the exuberant side of them too, when you like deliver something that they never even imagined could actually be created. So I prefer working with businesses like that. The problem is sometimes the money's not there for them.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like...
it's really not different. At the end of the day, the money kind of like answer the question.
It's like, can you afford to have me work with you for 6 months? Because we could definitely do that. But that's why I tend to play in different ponds, because when I can get a large brand that's going to pay me $100 an hour to do what I'm doing, that can afford me to maybe give this person a little leeway and like help them and make it more of a passion project. I still got to get paid, but I don't have to get paid as much because I'm supplanting it some places. So, but those are the clients I prefer to work with, are the smaller, I've got an idea, let's make it happen kind of thing. Yeah. Not only that, they tend to be like a little more nimble on their feet. So like if something does come up, they're like coming up with ways. And as a business owner and also in their same position, you tend to learn a lot from them because they're operating in ways that maybe, again, you never thought of. So you're seeing like, oh, well, when they started to have this issue, they went to this venue. Maybe I should be going over there too. You start noticing gaps that you could fill in their own universe.
Thank you so much, Brian. Also, where can we find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably predominantly the spot that I'm at, but you can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, Threads. All those links are down below. I'm the Conscious Creator. My name is Brian Stancheski, and I am the owner of Bigger Creative.